Alright, boys and girls, we're going to change gears a little bit and start talking about some reading. Today we're going to talk about morphemic analysis, which is just a bunch of big words, which means we're breaking apart words to figure out what they mean. So a morpheme is what we call the smallest part of a word that holds meaning. There's prefixes. They come before words and they change the meaning of words. That would be words like, or prefixes like on, re. There's also suffixes that come at the end of the word, so like ing, or ed, they also change the meaning of the words. And then there's root words, which is the part of the word that grows. And root words don't always make sense alone. Both prefixes and suffixes change the meaning of the word. Today, we're just going to focus on 3 of the most common prefixes. We'll get to all the rest in later lessons. Here's a list of some of the most common prefixes and suffixes. So un, as in unexcited, means not. So unexcited means not excited. Re means again, so remake would mean to make again. And so on, you can read through those. The suffixes, some of the most common are the s or es, which just means it's more than one. So student becomes students, meaning we have more than one student. Ed is past tense. So from jump to jumped, and so on. Again, this poster will be up in the room, and we can use it when we're using the skills we learned today. So first, there is a method. It's called the Insight-Out method. And there's 4 steps to this method. First, we're going to look for context clues surrounding the word and the sentence and sentences above it or around it. Then we're going to look inside the word for prefixes and suffixes. We're going to reread the sentence to see if it makes sense. Reread the sentence using our clues and then see if it makes sense. So, in this sentence, it says, when Kyle told Mary about the raccoon riding the unicorn, she said it was unbelievable. So, we know, looking inside for context clues, we can look at a raccoon riding a unicorn. Well, that's not very likely, is it? Look inside the word. We have unbelievable. Un. We learned before, and by looking at our poster, that we know that un means not. So unbelievable means not believable. We put that together to reread it with our clues. It says, when Kyle told Mary about the raccoon riding the unicorn, she said it was not believable. And then we have to go through and see if that makes sense. And that does make sense. Who could believe a raccoon riding a unicorn? Next, we have, I didn't do well on my math test. I should review before I retake the test. So we have 2 words with a re prefix. If you look outside the word first, we see that they didn't do well on their math test. And then we look inside the word, and we know that re means again. So, if we reread it using our clues, we have, I didn't do well on my math test. I should view my notes again before I take the test again. Then we have to go through and decide if that makes sense. And it does make sense. If you didn't do well on your test, you have to relook at your notes before you can take the test again. Next, we have, Jose cannot wait for summer break. He is impatient. We're trying to figure out what the word impatient means. We look outside the word for clues. It's step 1. He's talking about summer break and that he cannot wait. Look inside the word for clues. We're talking about the prefix im. Il, and in all mean not. So, we reread the sentence using our clues, and we read that Jose cannot wait for summer break. He is not patient. We decide if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys? Yay! We're all excited for summer break. So now we're going to do some stuff as a group. We are going to do something really exciting. So together, let's read this sentence. Tyson was unafraid when he saw the lion in the grocery store. Can we figure out what word here has a prefix that we're trying to figure out? You're right, it's unafraid. Now, what would happen to the sentence if we got rid of the prefix? It would become Tyson was, we get rid of the un, and we have afraid when he saw the lion in the grocery store. So, how does the prefix change the sentence? At first, Tyson was not afraid when he saw the lion in the grocery store. And in the second test sentence, when we got rid of the prefix, we see that Tyson was afraid when he saw the lion in the grocery store. I'd be afraid if I saw a lion in the grocery store. Tyson was afraid when he saw the lion in the grocery store. Now, after Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans had to rebuild the city. What word in there has a prefix that we could maybe try to decipher? Rebuild, you're right. So after Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans had to rebuild the city. If we get rid of the re, it just becomes build. And the sentence now says, after Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans had to build the city. So how does that change the sentence? Yep, re means again. So, if you're rebuilding, it means you're building again. Wouldn't make sense to build New Orleans after it's already been there, would it? And last, when my teacher started dancing during a science test, her behavior was irregular. Now, is there a word in there with a prefix that you might not know? Irregular, you're right. So if we look at our poster, nope. Let's look at the context clues first. That comes first. What can we see inside these context clues to give us an idea of what irregular might mean? A teacher dancing during a test is quite weird, isn't it? So if we get rid of the ear, and what does ear mean? Ear means not. So if you get rid of the ear and irregular, it says, when my teacher started dancing during a science test, her behavior was regular. And how does the ear change the sentence? So in the first sentence, the behavior was not regular. That's not something a teacher does during a test. And in the second sentence, it means that your teacher always dances during science tests. Now, I have a really cool maze activity for you guys to do. I will hand out the worksheet, and it's going to be just great.